Could you tell the audience a little bit about you, who you are, how you get into real estate, all those good things?
Absolutely, Alec. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here and allowing me to share. My name is Leodan, Leonel, Leon, triple L-N. So I was born in Cuba. I left Cuba around 6.5 years ago. And I'm a science guy. So since I started, my bachelor, I decided to go for chemistry. So I was all my life focused on sciences, and then when I was in my first year of university in Havana, I decided that that wasn't for me. I wanted to do something different. I saw the problems that we were all living in Cuba and facing in Cuba, and I decided to leave the country. So my mom got an opportunity in Mexico through, job permits. She was able to leave the country. She also took me with her, and I went to Mexico. Due to certain situations, she had to come back. I had to come back as well. And by the time that we were there, I remember that I was living in a hostel, literally, living in a room with 10. I think that there was a day that we were living with 12 people in a room.
How big was that room?
Well, it was around 150 square feet, something like that.
And you had 10 people in
Yes.
there? 12 people?
Yes.
That's crazy. Okay.
So I mean, that was made for that,
Sure.
to have people come in and, coming for a day and leaving and stuff like that. So remember, you're living in Cuba, you're getting certain salary based on Cuba. So when you're leaving the country, it's a different currency, it's absolutely different everything. So you need to budget very well yourself, right?
Like you're talking when you went from Cuba to Mexico?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you had to swap your Cuban currency.
In Cuba, because the Cuban currency, I mean, you can take it out of the country, so you can use it out of the country, sorry.
So you exchange it there?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you do that, you lose a lot of money, to be honest. And then
Do they kind of like cheat you out of some money?
Yes, absolutely. And yes, I mean, although you know they're doing that, you need to do it because it's the only way that you have to exchange money there, right?
So you don't have a choice?
Right, you have no choice.
Okay.
So I did that, we did that, and that's what what we did the first week, the first month actually, we were in Mexico, and the reason was because I knew that I wanted to study the university there. So for me, I was sure that I didn't want to come back to Cuba. So the first week we were there, we were interviewing, people like, what's the best university here in Mexico? Although we were, our budget was very reduced at that time. So I wanted to make sure that I was going to a good university because, that was my passion at that time. So we did that. I went to a university called Anáhuac that has a partnership with Le Cordon Bleu in Paris. And that's what I did. I did the exams, I did everything, and they promised me that if the results were good, they will allow me to apply for a scholarship, and that's what I did. So I got prepared. I did absolutely everything. I did the exam, and the same day I did the exam, I had to return to Cuba because of certain problems, migration and stuff like that. And I did it. So by the time I'm in Cuba, I go to a park because I don't know if probably you don't know it, but in Cuba around 5-6 years ago, the only way that you had to connect to internet was going to common, like public parkings, public parks. And
That's
then,
the only way you could connect to internet?
Yes, absolutely.
Wait, that's so
you
crazy.
go to common parks, and then they have the sign signal there that you can log in and use like the platforms they have.
So was that the reason because that's the way they made it, or was it a lack of infrastructure, or was it
No, that's the way they made it in order to keep people. Yes, in order to keep people. They knew that people that were in those parks were connected to internet, right? That plus infrastructure as well. So they just introduced internet like a few years ago. For sure, they need to start at a certain point, and that's the way they started, right?
And we're talking, what year did you leave? Or what year are we talking about right now?
So that was 2016.
2016?
Yes, more or less.
Okay.
So back in that time, that was the only 2016, 2015, more or less. So back in that time, that was the only way that we had to connect to internet. And yeah, I remember I went to a park. I connected myself, and then I saw that I was approved for a scholarship of 95% in that university. And I said, well, this is the time to leave, right? So I left Cuba. I went to that university. Although I was paying the 5% of the tuition and all those fees, that was extremely expensive for me because that's probably one of the most expensive universities in Latin America.
Okay.
So I went to Mexico, and since I started my career in Cancun, Cancun, tourism, right? So I said, well, they have a degree in tourism and economics. This is gonna be awesome. I'm going to be able to work for the government, I said, back in that time. So that's what I did. And as soon as I started the program, the teachers told us that we could apply for a program in Dubai. Dubai was when I was living in Cuba, a child. I remember that I saw a movie where I saw the 7 Stars Hotel. I don't know if you know which one it is.
The 7-star hotel?
Burj Al Arab, which is like...
I know exactly what that is. There's a helicopter pad on top.
Yes, that one.
So I was in Dubai right before I left for the military, which would have been, I don't know, 7 months ago or so.
Okay.
And we did a tour of the Burj Al Arab. Super cool building.
That's awesome.
And we got to tour like the 2 top penthouses.
Oh, that's awesome.
Have you been in there?
Yes.
Yeah, it was super cool. Like, just the interior design in there is so wild and beautiful view. I would have loved to have flown a helicopter in and landed on the pad though.
No, that's
awesome. Like the ultimate dream, right?
That's awesome. There is a room there that's shared with the presidential room that's completely made of gold.
That's crazy.
So yes.
So my understanding of that building in Dubai was it was going to be their Eiffel Tower. Like the Eiffel Tower is to Paris, that's kind of what they wanted that hotel to represent over in Dubai.
Right. So, well, as soon as I remember I was a kid and I saw that, and I'm like, woof, that's a city where I need to live.
Sure.
And I was living in Cuba, right? So imagine that craziness, like that's a city where I want to live, and I can't even leave Cuba right now. How am I gonna go to Dubai, right? So as soon as I knew that, we could apply for those programs, I said, okay, let me go for that. However, if I had planned to do it through the university, but it was extremely expensive for me at that time. It could cost me all the way from $7,000 to $15,000 to do the full program with them. Back in that time, I was, paying all expenses, and it was a different country as I've just shared. So everything was completely different for me. So that wasn't in my hands at that time. And I said, okay, let me try to do it by myself. So I spent almost 7 months trying to apply into hotels to go there. And finally, I got a program. It was an internship program for a management internship in the Palace at one and only Royal Mirage. And in that time, it was a top 5 hotel, was within the top 5 hotels in the city. So I decided to go there. And that's how my tougher year of my life started. So the hardest year of my life started in Dubai when I came there. Well, starting from temperature, I came in July 28th, something like that. So
Middle of summer.
It was crazy. It was around 52 Celsius degrees.
Okay.
So that's crazy.
What is that in Fahrenheit?
Whoops.
52 Celsius? We'll look it up later.
Yes, I mean,
that's like 130, 100.
To be honest, I don't know. I'm used to Celsius degrees. Now I'm adjusting to Fahrenheit.
Sure.
But yes, it was crazy for me. I mean, I was coming from Cancun. Cancun is it's a tropical place, tropical weather, but it's hot, mm-hmm. right? You can feel the heat. However, this was beyond what I was expecting, right? Mm-hmm. So starting from that, and additionally, when I left Cancun, I didn't speak English fluently. So the English that I started to learn wasn't in school. I mean, probably you have to learn other languages in school, and you know how it is, right? I've met people that are, learning Spanish at school, and they just say, hola, ¿qué tal? Something like that, right? So like similar. So I left Mexico without knowing, how to properly communicate in English. So that was super tough. And especially because I started the program in a hotel where we even had a Prince of Wales as guests.
The Prince of Wales as a guest?
Yes.
That's crazy. Okay.
So I had to manage how to, communicate effectively without any mistakes, because it wasn't just myself, the one who was going to be involved in those situations, but also the company, the hotel, the corporate offices, and even the country. So we had the royal family of Dubai as guests, the royal family of Abu Dhabi, the royal family of Saudi Arabia. So it was, it was a very tough situations.
So how long have you been speaking English currently to this day?
Well, that experience started in the end of 2021, so 21, 22. So I could say 2.5 years, more or less.
And you have great English for 2.5
Well,
years. That's crazy.
I appreciate that. We're still making some mistakes, which I think that it's normal, right?
That's essential, yeah.
Right. But yeah.
You're doing better than I am with Spanish because I don't know any Spanish.
I'll take you to Cuba. I'll take you to Mexico.
Okay.
I'll take you to Mexico.
Okay, so now when all these royal families and these guests that you're talking about, like the highest end people that you could basically serve or have as guests, right? So were you interacting with them like you could see them and talk to them? Like that type of interaction? Like you were doing all that?
Absolutely. So we are hotel hosts, so we need to receive them, we need to welcome them, and we need to prepare the experiences for them.
Wow.
Even before they arrive. So our protocol was, to be in touch, not with them before they come to the hotel. For sure, you are in touch with someone else, bodyguards or people like that. But as soon as they arrive to the hotel, you are in touch with them.
Wow.
Right. So yeah, that's our responsibility, and you need to make sure that everything goes perfect for them. And yes, that was tough. And it was tough not just because of that. I mean, all of them, based on my experience, are pretty nice, people, very humble, although they are in different levels. However, the pressure that we get from those companies is huge. I mean, the company I was working for.
Sure.
Right?
Standards, high standards.
Like
the highest
insane.
standard.
It's insane. And something important as well is that I didn't have the chance to share my feelings because it's a different culture. I had to adjust myself to absolutely everything overnight. I was not far away, like the next level from my family. Sometimes I wanted to talk to them and they were already sleeping. So that's
big time difference.
No, that's crazy. I think it's around, my family was at that time in Cuba, so I think it's around 10 hours, more or less.
That's crazy.
So yes, that's crazy.
So your mom lives like 3 houses down from this particular
house,
right?
Right now I'm blessed.
That's actually how we got introduced is, didn't I leave a door hanger on your mother's door?
Yes,
and
then,
then
a picture.
Yeah, and then like you reached out because you were a realtor or something along that lines, and now here we are doing a podcast together.
That's a picture. Hey, look at this. So that's awesome.
And then we got coffee at the Biltmore, which is just on the street. So for those of you watching, that's how we got connected and established this friendship. Okay, so back into your story here. The time difference, which is 10 hours. So your family's a long ways away. You got that time difference. What else?
Well, something that was really hard, and at the same time, I do believe that helped me a lot to, overcome all those difficulties, was that I didn't have my passport. So there are some hotels that doesn't work that way, but that particular hotel that's owned by the royal family of Dubai, the way they work is as soon as they have an employee that is coming to the hotel and they get the visa employment, they give you the visa and they take the passport, right? So because of certain things, there were times where I told myself, hey, I need to leave Dubai. Because of experience, because of a lot of, differences in terms of, the way people from this part of the world think versus people from Middle East probably. There were certain times where I was like, oh my gosh, I think that this is not my place. And I didn't have options.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so let's dive back into them taking your passport. So you would get the visa.
Right.
And then they would take your passport so that you couldn't travel?
Absolutely.
And
I don't know what's the reason behind that, to be honest. And I didn't ask them, hey, why are you taking my passport, right?
Yeah.
But because you're in a point
That's
where you're
scary.
alone.
That's
You are
scary.
alone. You're alone. Imagine they put a place where you're gonna live. They give you transportation. They give you food. They give you a place where you're gonna work.
Yeah.
So they are controlling absolutely everything.
Wow.
Right? Absolutely everything. So,
So
you're
you
in a
can't
point,
bite the hand that feeds you.
right.
Yeah.
So
like,
you're like your mind is like, I don't know, 200 miles per hour, and you're not even thinking why you don't have your passport.
wow.
Right? So yes, that's what I experienced. There were times where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to the airport and I need to, this is not my place. However,
So you couldn't leave because you didn't have your visa.
no, I didn't. No, I didn't have my passport.
Or sorry, you didn't have your.
I had
yeah,
a
yeah,
residency.
Sorry, you didn't
Right.
have your passport. So if you wanted to go, like
No,
you're
I
saying, like
couldn't.
you couldn't just go and show up to the airport and like fly. You were kind of trapped there.
Correct. I couldn't. So and now, for example, if I say, okay, I want to leave. I gotta go back home. In the contract, there was a 3 month of notice. Usually here in the
Wow.
U.S. it's around a week or 2 weeks or something like that, or a month. Was 3 months of notice, and that was too much.
That's interesting.
So yeah, so I got in touch with a great person that came in my life. Like she's a blessing for me. She was my teacher of economics, my first teacher of economics in the university, and she has, become like a family member. And she told me, Leo, are those problems stronger than you? Don't you think that you can, overcome them? And that's gonna show how strong you may be against, like, in front of life, because life is not just things that you want to happen, but also like there are challenges and there is tough times that you need to overcome. So if you come here, where are you gonna take from Dubai, right? More than the experience you have had. Are you bringing a certificate? Are you bringing a full experience, or just like negative thoughts about what your experience was? And that completely changed my perspective. That day, I remember I went to the hotel. I said, hey, I want to, end the contract, and I want to move to another company. I remember I said, Dubai, I'm gonna give you the last try.
One more try.
Yeah, one more try, and that's it. I'm done.
Okay.
So back in that time, there was a hotel that was just built like a couple of years ago. The name is Bulgari Hotel and Residences Dubai. And at that time, it was a #1 hotel in Middle East and also in North Africa. That's owned by an Italian company, Bulgari. I don't know if you have heard about Bulgari, like the jewelries and bags and perfumes.
I haven't personally, but I know some of the viewers probably have. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have
big brand.
Yes, they have ultra luxury properties all around the world, and that's made especially to keep their clientele, and also, to do business through hospitality. But usually that's done to sell their product as well. So that's all connected with jewels, right? So I started working there in Bulgaria in a front desk position, and that hotel is on a seahorse shaped island. And there was a part of the island that wasn't developed yet. So they were building villas and mansions right there. So when I started, it was a hotel in one part of the island. Just at front, they had 6 or 5 towers that were selling apartments, and they were building more mansions in that island.
Are we talking Dubai?
That's Dubai.
Old Town or New Town?
No, that's Business Bay. Business Bay.
Business Bay it is?
Yes.
Okay.
That's Business Bay. Actually, from that island, you can see Burj Al Arab.
Okay.
Yes, and the World Islands as well. Hotel was right there. They were building more villas and mansions, and they had a partnership with Bulgari. So all those properties were being sold by Bulgari brand. So we were encouraged to, inform our clients, our customers, our guests that we have villas to sell, so that way they don't spend money in monthly basis going to the hotel, but they can purchase their own villas. And that's how I started my journey in real estate in Dubai.
Did you need a real estate license to do that?
To do that, you don't need a real estate license, because you're partnering with the seller. So you're getting a commission based on the villas that you're able to help to sell.
Okay.
So you don't need a license with that, because you're not directly interacting with that, right?
So you would kind of pass them along to the hotel, and the hotel people that are licensed would essentially read the contract and close.
Correct. And that's a way that real estate works if you're working for a hotel, like a third party, and they are connected at the same time with a real estate broker.
Okay.
If you're not connected with a real estate broker, you do not work directly with them, you don't need a real estate license.
Okay.
Right?
That makes sense.
So
That's an interesting avenue to get started in real estate, though.
yeah,
That's
I mean,
cool.
it was super interesting. There are villas that has sold from all the way from 13 million dirhams, which is around, I think it's around $3 million,
Okay.
to 468 million dirhams, which is around $113 million. So yes,
That's a wide range.
no, that's really crazy.
That's crazy.
That's really crazy.
Okay.
So in that hotel, we had guests such as Cristiano Ronaldo, Jacob Arabov. Do you know the brand of watches?
Oh, Jacob?
Jacob.
Jacob and Co?
Jacob
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Co. That's the name of the company.
Okay. Crazy watches.
Elena Likash, one of the richest ladies in Russia.
Okay.
Royal families, and yeah, that was another crazy.
High-end
Crazy
guests.
Yes, that was
That's
huge
amazing.
opportunity. And while I was learning that, I met a lot of people that later on became friends in the real estate industry. So I remember that I was, helping them with contracts and so on, and they taught me a lot about real estate in Dubai. And there is a huge difference between what I learned about real estate in Dubai and real estate in Florida. Now, by the way, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about this now. By the time that I was living in Dubai, my family had to leave Cuba, so they moved because of political reasons and stuff like that. So they had to leave Cuba and they moved to Florida. So we're living just 3 properties.
Yeah, 3 houses. So that's the house that they moved into when they left Cuba.
Yes, well, we had a family member living here as well.
Okay.
My
So when did your grandfather owned that before?
Yes.
Okay, so when did your mother and your immediate family get here to Miami?
Well, it was around, 30 years, something like that.
30 years? Okay,
Yes.
so it's been a while.
Yes.
Okay. When did you leave Dubai, and why did you leave Dubai?
Well, remember, as I have said, I left Mexico to do my internship. Although later on, I decided to extend that period in Dubai, working, doing hospitality and real estate.
Okay.
But I left to do my internship. So at
So
that
you left
time,
to Dubai to do your internship?
right.
Okay.
So at that time, I was still doing my career. So I didn't finish my bachelor's yet.
Okay.
So I had to come back. So I had 2 options. I remember that by the time that I decided to leave, they told me, hey, Leo, we can promote you. You know what the things that happen when you're leaving a company and, they want you and all this stuff. But I said, okay, so I need to finish something that I started. So let me go back to Mexico. Let me get my degree. And then I have 2 options. Number 1, Florida, and number 2, Dubai.
Sure.
Why Florida? Because by the time that I was there, my family came here, right?
Sure. So you spent 2 years working in Dubai at the
Yes.
internship. Then you decided to go back to Mexico
Correct.
and
to finish my
your
career.
bachelor's
Right.
for 2 years.
No, for just 6 months.
For 6 months.
Yes.
So, and then you came here.
Correct.
Got it.
So
and here
that's
we
why-
are.
Yes, and here we are.
Okay.
So,
I think a lot of people would be interested about the differences between Dubai real estate and this real estate.
well, there is a huge difference, and especially because here you get your license and you associate with a broker, and then you go and sell or buy whatever you are in Florida. Usually we get used to like certain cities or counties or something like that. But there in Dubai, when you're working with the brokers, they usually are very focused on farming an area. So usually when you're starting working with a broker, they tell you, hey, those are the properties that you can trade, that you can buy or sell. And
So
you
they
can,
give you like a pre-selected
yes,
area.
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, there are some buildings. For example, here you have like Aston Martin or Mercedes or all those buildings. Although they keep certain properties to certain brokerages. If you want, you can bring them a client, right?
Yeah.
So there are properties there that they just sell, those units, or they partner with certain brokerage. And if you're not part of that brokerage, you can buy or sell that.
You can't buy or
Yes.
sell it?
Yes, that's correct.
So only a specific brokerage can buy it?
Correct.
Interesting.
So it's important when you're taking a decision like what's a brokerage you want to work with, you need to make sure that you're partnering with with a good brokerage that's very well connected. And additionally, there is something that is very common in Dubai real estate and Florida's real estate, which is database. So I think that if you have a good database, to be honest, doesn't really matter where you are, as long as you have clients, potential clients that can purchase the properties that you have, right? So for example, if I was doing real estate in Dubai, if I couldn't be referring those clients to the sellers, how am I gonna, be able to sell those properties? But I was getting those clients because I was working in a hotel where those clients were going.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
So if I couldn't be there, how am I gonna get those contacts? Right. Mm-hmm. So that's why for me that's key. Although you are in Dubai, you are in Miami. So when you're in Dubai, that's the way to do it. To be honest, the barriers are higher in terms of expenses. It's very expensive. Not very expensive.
The barriers?
Like,
what did you say?
Like the obstacles.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, for example,
the obstacles are higher and harder.
It could be like 10,000 dirhams to get a license. 10,000 dirhams is, I think, is more than $3,000.
Oh wow. Okay.
Right. So, taking into consideration that the average salary in Dubai is not that much, like that could be hard. Right here, you can get it for $500. $600. You do the course, you take your license, and you are all in, right? Mm-hmm. So there is different. And additionally, as I have said, if you don't partner with the right brokerage, right, you're
not getting business.
Yes, you're not gonna get business.
So when I was in Dubai, I noticed, I think the developer was called DAAMAC. Is it Damac?
Yes.
Okay.
Oof,
they're everywhere.
No, they're very
every
powerful.
single tall, or not every single tall building, but majority of tall buildings, I would say, I don't know, it looked like 70 or 80% of them had that developer's name on there. Mm-hmm. So when I was there, I did a little bit of studying. I think it's connected to the royal family, and there's some ownership in there. So I would imagine they have a brokerage, and like being connected to that brokerage would be huge. Mm-hmm. There was one other developer that I noticed that had a ton of buildings. Mm-hmm. Do you remember which developer that was? It was Damac.
Emar?
Emar. E-M-A-A-R?
Mm-hmm. E-M-A-R.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so those two...
Yeah. They are competitors, but I think they are owned by, the same.
I think, I think so, because they had every building.
Yes.
I mean, they had quite the monopoly, and that was kind of cool to see. I was just looking up at these buildings. I was like, oh my. Who built the Burj Khalifa?
I think it was Emar.
I think it was either Emar or Damac.
And actually, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Burj Khalifa. So Dubai had a plan to build, the tallest building in the world. They did it, but they run out of funds.
So they had to go to Abu Dhabi, right?
Yeah.
And the Abu Dhabi family,
right.
Okay.
So I don't know the name because it's huge. It's Bin Khalifa Al Saeed Al Mak. Well, it's a huge name, but the ruler of Abu Dhabi told the ruler of Dubai, okay, I'm gonna give you the funds, but you need to put it you need to name the tower, Khalifa, which is my first name. So that's why the tower is called Burj Khalifa. It was going to be called Burj Dubai, but it's Burj Khalifa. So that's why.
So I heard that Abu Dhabi is way wealthier than Dubai.
It doesn't look like it is. But yes, it is.
And especially all the attention that Dubai gets, I mean, over here as far as all the glam, all the glitz, all the things you see on social media. I thought Dubai was by far going to be richer than Abu Dhabi. No. But then we spent time going to Abu Dhabi. We took, I think it was like an hour or an hour and a half.
Yes, hour and a half, more or less.
It was super cool, but we learned a lot about Abu Dhabi, and it was really eye-opening. It was super interesting. So Abu Dhabi is the capital, right?
Yes, it's the capital of UAE, United Arab Emirates.
It's oil money. Right?
Yes, correct. That's why.
So
it doesn't look odd though, because I mean the buildings and everything is nicer in Dubai, especially because Dubai is more an international city. If you go to Abu Dhabi, you can realize they change easily, right? The way people are dressed and all the things, like it's huge. The difference, So yeah, probably Dubai looks like it's way wealthier than Abu Dhabi, but no, Abu Dhabi is the capital.
That's crazy. That's super interesting. So a little side note there.
The reason why I really love real estate here is because it's more regulated, right? And because you can feel the responsibilities that you have as a transaction broker in every transaction, right? So it's very important that we know, not just the contract, but also where are we gonna let our clients buy, or how are we helping our sellers sell their properties, right? How are we aligned with the rules, regulations that we have in the state, and that's something that I didn't really feel in Dubai. So it's pretty more open. Everything, I mean, we had a platform where you literally you put all information, you submit a transaction to the broker, and they take care of that. That's the way Bulgari works with their properties, right? The broker that was working with Bulgari. Probably there are others that are different, but that's what I experienced. So here you are more hands-on.
Sure,
right?
You're in the transaction,
yes,
you're talking to the client through everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting. Okay.
So that's in terms of that, and well, the fact that you get a license here in Florida, and that you can also get referrals from all over the country, and the fact that you can also buy or sell properties all over the state is huge. You're working with the brokers, but you're not sticked to the areas where the brokerage is working, right? Mm-hmm. So my brokerage can tell me, hey, we have a partnership with those developers, but if I want to sell another place, I can do it. Right?
I think that's probably important when you have a very important relationship or a very deep relationship with somebody.
Right.
Like in Dubai, if you have a relationship and they want to buy out of your designated area, it sounds like you can't help them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so but here you have a very close relationship with somebody and they want to go somewhere else outside of your area, you're still able to help them. Correct. I feel like real estate's more about the relationships,
right,
in some aspects than it is about the property. So that's interesting.
Right.
That's a big difference.
And how, for example, a question: how are you gonna sell a multi-million property to potential buyers that probably you don't have in your database? How are you gonna start? Well, the way you have to start is doing what? Well, selling properties that maybe $300,000 or $200,000, but that's the way people are gonna know you, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not selling in other areas, how are you going to start selling here? So that doesn't make sense. That's the reason why there is a huge percentage of realtors in Dubai that, in the 5th month or something like that, they say, this is not for me, unfortunately.
They quit,
yes,
and high turnover.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's quite a bit of high turnover here too. I think in Miami, we are probably one of the top 3 or 4 markets as far as realtors per capita, meaning how many realtors we have. I feel like today or nowadays, every entrepreneur that doesn't know what they want to do gets into real estate, right? Because it's easy to do. It's glamorous.
Yes.
It's easy. They think it's easy, but it's glamorous. They see social media. They see shows like Selling Sunset.
Right.
So they're like, okay, I have a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit. Let me just go get my real estate license.
Right.
So, I mean, have you ever heard of Pareto's principle?
No.
Okay, so it's the 80-20 rule. Basically, like 20% of realtors do 80% of the business.
Okay.
And then 80% of realtors do 20% of the business.
Of
so it's kind of, that's the thesis behind it, but I would say that I find that to be true is you have your top producers that are doing real well, and then you got the one-off transactions down there. So
right.
It's interesting, but okay, so that's the difference between Dubai and Miami real estate. Currently, there's a lot going on in Miami real estate and real estate in the United States as a whole on the buyer side, right?
Yes.
So buyer agent commissions are kind of being pushed under the rug, I guess, or they're not like totally mandatory. The seller can choose how much they want to offer the buyer agent, which I think is super interesting, which I'll talk about later. But what's your take on that? Like, what are you going through right now? Because when you came in the door, you're like, I've been doing this with clients, I've been doing that. So can you dive a little bit into that?
Absolutely. So actually for me, when I got the license, just to tell you this before going to answer that question, when I got the license, there is something that I realized, and it's that the reason why there are a lot of people in this business that probably they're just behind something else than because they love real estate is because you can get it easily, right? So the fact that we have this settlement from right now and the things that are different will really allow us, realtors that do this because they love this to, make a difference and keep going, right? And differentiate from probably others, right? So for us, to be honest, we haven't seen any changes in terms of documents that buyers will need to sign or something like that because we have always done that. So for example, I personally do not work with any buyer if we are not in an exclusive agreement, right? So based on NAR, before to show a property to your client, they need to sign a document where they know what the realtor is gonna get paid for. Like what are gonna be the service they're gonna provide you, what's gonna be the percentage that he's gonna charge, and absolutely everything. In our case, we do that as soon as we are in touch with the client and we know that the client is pre-approved. If the client is not committed to work with us, why would we be committed to dedicate our time, passion, and absolutely everything to find a property for them, right? So the fact that now you need to get a document signed by them before you show them a property, it's not that doesn't make any there is no change for us, right?
Yeah.
There is no difference for us because we have always done that. And the only thing where I'm seeing a difference is that now commissions can't be disclosed on the property, on the multiple listing service profile. So you are not going to be able to see it there unless you call the realtor. And additionally, usually the way it worked is, you are in a transaction and the seller's agent or the sellers pay certain commission to the buyer, and that's it. Now you need to tell your clients, hey, I'm charging X percentage. Do you agree with that? Yes, I do agree with that. Well, if the seller is offering less percentage, then there is a possibility that you need to put that out of pocket. That's the only thing what I'm saying.
So let's say I charge my clients 3% when we go look at a property, right?
Right.
But the seller's only offering 2%. That means that they're signing that they know they have to come up with that additional 1% out of pocket.
Right. Although there is an option where, if they tell you, hey, do not show to me properties where sellers are not paying 3%, and that's it. That could be also an option.
Because then they don't got to come out of pocket.
Additionally, it really depends on your clients. You could have clients, that are, I don't know, like spatial, there are clients and clients, right? You can tell them, hey, no worries. In this case, I'm gonna, do an exception, and it's just gonna be 2%. I know your situation, and that's fine. But that's the way it worked.
Sure.
Right, and it's not that commissions are not. That's another thing that I want to highlight. Commissions have always been negotiable, right? So no one has said that it's always 3% or 2.5%. Commissions are always negotiable. Now, negotiable until what point? I couldn't be able to work for 1% because I know, right, how much I put into the business, how committed I am to the business, and to my clients. So I do not worth 1% of a transaction, right? But commissions are always negotiable, and that's it.
Yeah, I think it's going to bring an interesting aspect because when an agent represents a seller, they're representing that seller. There's things with every property that are wrong with the property that you're not going to find. Right. And us as buyer agents are kind of trained to see, and we're almost a detective. We're like, okay, what's wrong with this property? Because every property has something wrong. So how are we going to find that? So if you go and there's a listing agent, for example, and it's they're representing the seller, of course they're not going to share that information with you. So I think a lot of buyers are going to get themselves into a little bit of trouble thinking they know what they're doing. They're going to go enter a contract, and since the listing agent only has the seller in mind, they're going to get screwed over. Maybe something really wrong is going on with the property. The plumbing's all cast iron and it's burst, or the subflooring is falling out, or I don't know, whatever the case may be. The pool is shattered and leaking 10 gallons a second. You know what I mean? There's so many different things that could potentially happen. So I think that exposes the buyer to a lot. But it's going to be an interesting ride, and we're here to work through it. It sounds like we're both committed to the real estate industry as a whole. So it's we're going to adapt, we're going to adjust, we're still going to be quality, we're going to do fine, we're going to do great. And
absolutely. And there are going to be always, buyers that will need our help, right? There are always big buyers that will need our help and our guidance. It's very important from our side that we show the value that we can bring to the table, how we can help them, how we can guide them, and how we can make things, smoother.
You've been in real estate in Miami for 8 months now.
Yes.
How has it been getting started in such a competitive market?
Well, it has been awesome. It has been tough as well because you need to differentiate from others. But since I started, I got lucky and I started being part of a team, the 4K group, FORCADE group. And it has been awesome. I started as a buyer's agent there. And for me, the best way to learn how to do something is by doing. right? Hands-on and start doing it. And I have been guided by the grand maker of the team, and I'm feeling awesome. I have discovered, to be honest, I started real estate not just because of my experience, the experience that I had in Dubai. I met in Dubai, by the way, a guy, his name is Connor McKay. Go to his Instagram. He's 26 years old.
Okay.
And he sold the most expensive villa in Dubai.
Okay.
He's a legend, a life legend there in Dubai.
Sure.
And for sure you get inspired by that because you want to change the life of people around you, the life of your family. You want to leave a legacy. And that's why you start in real estate. Now, that was my mind when I started, right? But when you face the reality, that doesn't work that way overnight, right?
You got to work your way to that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. However, I have always think this: the way you know if you're in a good path is if you are enjoying the process, but not the end, not just the end, not just the results, but also the process. If you don't enjoy the process, how are you gonna get the results, right? So I'm in love with this, to be honest. I'm in love with this. I could work for the government. I could work I got an offer in Trump International Hotel. I could work in Louis Vuitton, retail business. No, I just love this. I just, I'm in love with this. And I think that helps a lot, right? So I started, as I have shared, as a buyer's agent. So I have helped, I have closed 11, I have been part of 11 transactions. 5 of those have been rentals, and 6 of those has been, or whether helping a buyer or helping a seller sell their property. So yeah, it has been awesome. Now there is a point in real estate. You're here, right? But you wanna go, you wanna be like miles far from where you are, right? And especially when you're doing something that you love. So yeah, I think that you need to focus on people, right? It's a service of people. You need to show that you really care about them. You need to show that you are there to resolve not their life, but help them achieve their goal. And you need to show them that you're knowledgeable, that you're capable to guide them, and and help them achieve one of their most important financial goals. That's probably getting a property.
Absolutely. Those are all You said you were working with FSBOs, right? For sale by owners? Can you dive a little bit into the FSBO?
Well, when I started in real estate, you start hearing like expired, for sale by owners, and this and different ways of lead generation. And I started trying all those ways, and I'm really in love with for sale by owners. Those are very tough conversations. Hey, bring me a buyer.
Yeah.
Are you a buyer or a realtor? Bring me a buyer. So the fact that, call by call, I have been able to end my script and help some for sale by owners is huge. And I love for sale by owner because they are sellers that are telling you, hey, I want to sell. So the only thing that you need to do is show them how you can help them in the process, how you can literally help them net as much as they want or more than they were expecting from that transaction. Yep. Usually for sale by owners just put the property in the market. After a month, they can see that they are just getting calls from realtors. What do? They lower the price. And sometimes they lower the price more than what they could pay a realtor to help them sell the property.
Yep.
And they lower the price, and then there is an inspection, and they negotiate even more credits, and then when you do the math, you're realizing that you're just, losing money.
So you came across this website that you want to share with everyone because it's helpful, is HomeCoin. HomeCoin.com.
Yes. Right.
What do they do?
So HomeCoin.com is a platform where you as a seller, you can post your listing instead of Zillow on the MLS. Okay. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh my goodness. So you as for sale by owner, you can post it there. However, when you're calling, when I as a buyer's agent call the listing, the platform connects me with the seller. So you are posting your listing on the MLS, but you're not represented.
Interesting. And that's a little bit of competition with you trying to work for sale by owners. Like a lot of people are out there working for sale by owners. So now you're competing against HomeCoin because they're basically giving the exposure to the homeowner
Right.
for $95. Like, but again, they're not represented. So then that
Right.
seller is going to have to work that whole transaction, negotiate, go through inspection, go through title, go through loan. So I understand that. That's an interesting aspect. What are your takes and what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I saw it, I'm like, well, yes, we are, paying certain fee to MLS for exclusivity. However, it's not as exclusive, as it could be. Probably HomeCoin is paying their fee as well, so no problem with that. However, the advantage and the value that we bring on the table is on representing the client. We do not just post a listing on the MLS and we just wait to get buyers, right? So we do a lot of things to make things happen, to sell that property. And a lot of things that go from marketing apps, from marketing, door knocking, circle prospecting, and tons of ways to try to, increase exposure. We, as team also, we have partnership with a marketing agency that help us, sell those listings as well and increase exposure. And we share that with the sellers in weekly basis so that they know what we're doing. So it's not just to post a listing on the MLS. So, in certain, I'm like, well, they are gonna be there. However, when I give them a call, they're not represented.
Sure.
So, unless they have sold 10, 20, 15 properties, do you think that they can compete with realtors that have sold like I don't know, they are very well experienced in the market? Absolutely no.
They're going to get eaten up.
Right, and that's where our experience and our value comes. And I think that, this is what we do full time, right?
Yes.
This is our job. So I can't go to an embassy and tell an ambassador how to work.
Yeah.
Right, because that's what he does full time, right? In my case, what we do full time is real estate. So this is what we're here for, and that's how we, those are the ways that we have to help our clients. If you're not in the industry full time, how are you gonna try to negotiate with people that are well experienced?
Yeah, you're up against a lot there. Okay.
Right.
So that's an interesting, I think that the audience is going to find some value in that. Some people are going to check it out. Maybe they didn't know that they were competing against that when they're calling for sale by owners. So now they're aware. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
And it's been fabulous, Leo, having you on. We've talked about a lot. We've talked about Cuba, Dubai,
Mexico,
royal families, Mexico, schooling, so much. So thank you so much for coming on. 3 questions here to end this. What's the hardest thing you've ever been through in life?
Well, the hardest thing was Dubai. Imagine I was in a place that I didn't want to be. I was going to work in a place that I didn't like. It was a place where they didn't speak my language. I was far away from my family, 10 hours difference, and I didn't have tools to go back. I didn't have my passport. I was literally controlled by someone that I didn't even know, and that was very hard.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
But I learned how to overcome that, and not just professionally speaking, but also personally. So I said, okay, if I was able to, to overcome this, I'm gonna overcome any other experience that I have in my life, because that was hard. Psychologically, probably if I could have a passport, I would say, oh, no problem, I can manage this. But you're alone, and there is no way that you can leave that place, right? So your mind is like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna live here? How are you gonna live here? And you wake up every morning thinking about that, and it's literally crazy.
That's wild. Yeah, that's an interesting experience. I think that's a super unique experience.
Oof, that was hard.
So thank you for sharing that. Second question, what motivates you?
Oops, my parents. So they have been with me since I was born. Absolutely everything that I have done has been thanks to them. They have helped me in every process of my life, guiding me, encouraging me, and giving me support. And I'm really, really grateful to them. Everything that I do, everything that I want to do is, to be honest, because of them. I want to give them 100 times more than what they just, gave me. And they're a huge motivation for me to do what I do. and we keep going.
That's amazing.
They are at every stage of my of my life. Everything that I think of, they are the reason why.
That's amazing. Lastly, what's your favorite food?
Favorite food, garlic fish.
Garlic fish.
Do you know that? No.
I've had garlic fish before. What's your favorite restaurant that you go to?
Florida Seafood Restaurant. It's in Fontainebleau.
In Fontainebleau.
Well, close by.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Leo.
Oh, thank
Thank
you
you
for
for
having
coming
me
on.
here.